Motorcycle accidents are terrifying experiences. You're hurt, and you need someone on your side who understands. Call the Advocates. They have over 20 years experience with accident cases and have recovered settlements for hundreds of other motorcyclists. They can handle the medical bills and deal with the insurance company so you can focus on recovering and getting back on your bike. The Advocates are my motorcycle attorneys.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice. That's exactly what you get at theadvocates.com, where you can chat with an injury attorney 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. I say it every single day on the show. If you get into an accident, if you are injured, please, I am begging you, do not trust your insurance company because they are not working for you. They are working for their board of directors. They are working to put money back in their pockets. Who's fighting for you? Who's working to make sure that you can have peace of mind, get back to the best version of yourself? That'd be the Advocates at theadvocates.com, where you never reach into your pocket to pay the Advocates. You don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. And this morning, obviously, I think we all know we are dealing with a different time in college football as a Pac-12 stunner dropped in the late hours last night into the early morning hours today. And the news is that the Pac-12 is going to decimate the Mountain West by adding Boise State, who obviously I think all of us recognize is the biggest football brand in the Mountain West. But you're talking about Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, and San Diego State allegedly joining a reimagined Pac-12. And the funny part is, what did we talk about yesterday on this show? What does a reimagined Pac-12 look like? And we wondered aloud yesterday right here in this space, why was J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, talking so openly about leaving the Big 12's offer on the table? Well, now we know it's because he had already accepted an invitation to a reimagined Pac-12, and our sources are telling us that this is just the beginning for the Pac-12. Now, obviously, this is a large story that layers are going to unfold as the day today and tomorrow goes on. But what we know so far is that these four schools are said to be leaving the Mountain West to join the Pac-12. They will be added, obviously, to Washington State and Oregon State. Now, sources in the TV industry are telling us here on the Monty Show that the CW is willing to expand its relationship with the Pac-12, as well as an unnamed streaming partner who we believe to be Prime Video would pick up a large portion of the non-CW football games and basketball games in the reimagined Pac-12. But the question always is, and we don't know the answer, how much money is a new TV deal in a reimagined Pac-12 with a minimum of 8 members, which we're going to get to in a moment? How much money, how valuable is that league? Does it draw more water than the $3.5 million per school in the Mountain West? I think it absolutely does, because when you look at what the Pac-12 is getting out of the Mountain West, they're getting their bigger brands. Say what you want about the J.D. Wickers and Adela Della Torres of the world in San Diego. San Diego is a valuable TV market. It brings this conference back to Southern California, who they so spectacularly lost with USC and UCLA. And I think the one remaining question here is, who else do you add? Because I think a lot of people believe they need 8. I am told that at a minimum, to be a viable conference, the Pac-12 will need to get to 10 teams. And I don't think there's any doubt that they are going to be reaching out across the rest of the Mountain West, which we'll have some details for you in about 5 minutes. But at this point, this doesn't seem like a move that is a finisher, Jake. It feels like a move that is just the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like it's the start of the process, and I think that the Pac-12. A couple things you have to remember here is the Pac-12 is under new leadership, right? All the folks who were running the Pac-12 before are largely gone. So we're not seeing a Pac-12 leadership operating the same way that they would have in the past, and I think that's a key point. That's the first thing you need to understand. I think the second thing you need to understand about this whole situation is the direction and the path back to long-term viability and just stability in the conference. I mean, you have to understand that there's a process in place here where they're obviously going to, have to add back these teams. And we know the first 4 that they're going to go after and are adding allegedly. And we know that they need to add probably another 4 more to be taken seriously. So when you think about that, there's a long way to go here. And I think, questions that everybody is asking after this story came out late last night is obviously implications with the playoff and money and yada, yada, yada. There's a lot there. But I think the biggest thing with the Pac-12 right now is, can this conference truly climb back and get back on its feet with these brands out of the Mountain West for the most part? Because I look at it and I say, yeah, Boise State's a great brand. San Diego State's obviously had some success in basketball, as we discussed yesterday, but we're not talking about adding, like huge brands in college football right here at the power level. We're talking about brands who potentially could make that jump in Boise State, but there's still a lot of gray area there. So for the conference, I think that there's still a lot of questions to be asked, but I would say that this should be viewed as a positive move. I mean, at least they're trying. Obviously this is pretty uncharted territory for a conference to lose basically every member in your conference, to have a window in time when you can restart the conference, and now you're taking this step. So I think this is very much like, by college football standards, uncharted territory for everybody involved.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. And the real questions here for me, does this make the Pac-12 a power conference? And almost immediately, the first person I spoke to in television this morning, who has been a source that has been pretty nails on this for us throughout this expansion process, said no. This would not bring power conference money or value to the Pac-12, almost no matter who they add. And I think that's a really interesting caveat, because again, the TV distribution is what this conference would be after. But if you are on the CW in Prime Video, it gives you significant reach. But it also tells me, because of who the CW is and where their reach is, I think that you have to get into Texas and Florida here if you are the Pac-12. I don't see any way that you can simply be a West Coast product. That is not going to work, because it does not give you the audience, the population, or the reach that you would need to bring yourself of value. And when you look at the way that the college football playoff is set up through 2026, it's 12 teams with an auto bid for the G5. So is this new reimagined Pac-12 aiming for 25 and 26? I don't think so. I think what this reimagined Pac-12 is aiming for is what's after the next 2 years. What happens when we get past 2026 and we go through these 2 years of a 12-team playoff? That's where this new reimagined Pac-12 is positioning itself. Because one of the most important details, and I think that this is really important, if you are going to leave the Mountain West, you are required to give $18 million in a 2-year notice. If you want that to be a 1-year notice, it'd be $36 million per school. Now, if you do some math on that, and you look at penalties and you look at the cost of this, you're looking at between $130 and $140 million in exit fees, because that's what's in the scheduling agreement. There is a poaching provision between the Pac-2 and the Mountain West that requires them to pay a penalty. I believe it's $10 million per school that they poach. Each team is required to give $18 million on a 2-year, $36 million on a 1-year notice. This is not a small amount of money. And my sources have told me that the Pac-12 conference is willing to pay a significant portion of those exit fees for these universities to leave the Mountain West. It's simply a matter of finding 4 more teams to join this conference to make it whole. And when that happens, and it's going to happen, it's not a matter of will they get back to 10? They're going to be back to 10 in short order. How much is it going to cost? And how much value do their new members add to this? Because I think one of the most intriguing conversations here is what is happening behind the scenes and how did all of this play out? Sources close to the situation told me early this morning that there is absolutely a leverage play being used here by the 4 exiting members in the Pac-12 conference. There is a belief that a school like UNLV is being leveraged here because UNLV, I am told, was very hesitant to even have the discussion because of the value position that a new reimagined 10-team Pac-12 would be in. Is there more value in a reimagined Pac-12, or is there more value in hoping for a Super League? That's the real question here, because the Pac-12 is playing hardball. The Pac-12 is essentially, from what I'm told, telling people, hey, this is your one opportunity to get into this league. Because if you wait to see the what ifs or, hey, what's going to happen here, we're not going to give you the opportunity to join us. And when we get that big TV deal, we're not going to give you the opportunity to join us. And when we reform this league and we get an auto bid, because make no mistake about it, the Pac-12 believes that they're a power conference who should have an automatic bid to the college football playoff. They believe that. That is unquestioned. And they are telling universities like UNLV, we're going to have power conference status. We're going to have an automatic bid. And if you don't get in now, you're not going to get in ever. And it's a really interesting moment in time for UNLV, who we have not heard much from when it comes to realignment. And I think UNLV is being very, very pragmatic and very careful about their next step. Because I also think if you go into this Pac-12 and they are not made a power team and they do not have an auto bid to the college football playoff, boy, are you in a really bad situation. Because if you are Boise State, specifically Boise State football, you already were in a position where you had an auto bid if you won the Mountain West Conference. Essentially, you had an auto bid. If you were the best G5 team, you were getting that spot. And now, if you go to the Pac-12 and you do not have power conference status and you do not have an auto bid to the college football playoff, this is a huge, huge failure if you are Boise State. Because the only thing that matters for Boise State is getting that college football playoff money, which only comes through an automatic bid, because you are not going to be an at-large team. Your percentages, if you are, and look at all 4 of these teams, if you are San Diego State football, if you are Fresno State, if you are Colorado State, and if you are Boise State, are you ever one of the 12 best teams in college football? Are you ever ranked as one of the 12 best teams in college football? Will you ever have the hammer if you are ranked one of the 12 best teams that somehow the 4th and 5th team in the SEC is not more deserving than you are as a non-power conference team that doesn't have an auto bid? And I think, Jake, that's the biggest thing here is the risk of what you are giving up, leaving the comfort. Now, obviously, the money is a problem, but leaving the comfort of a G5 for the hope that you will again be designated a power conference and given an auto bid, that is a huge risk for Boise State.
Absolutely. And I think that, Boise State has the luxury of being one of the top dogs, if not the top dog in the Mountain West. And a school like UNLV or San Diego State doesn't necessarily operate with those luxuries. And I think that, the other consideration that I think, will get vetted out, of course, over time is the revenue sharing situation that we're seeing play out in college football. If you're going to be a power conference, you can be sure that revenue sharing is going to be part of that situation, which immediately brings us back to what is this CW prime deal, alleged prime deal that we're being told, what does that look like? I mean, how much money are you actually making? Could a school like Boise State or UNLV or San Diego State even afford to do that? So I think it's the college football playoff. I think it's the P&L sheet of the school and the athletic department. I think I think right here today, the insecurity that you would feel as UNLV, being courted by this conference that just sort of popped up again, and because that's what this is. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and say that this is some prodigious conference again. That because the Pac-12 will tell you, and again, as much as leadership has changed, we're already seeing some of the same narratives coming out of the reporting, which is, hey, this conference has been around for more than 100 years. We have all this heritage and tradition, come play in our conference, and that's just not going to be good enough that's not going to be good enough to get people to join. You're going to have to show A plus B equals you're getting paid and you have reliability as a school. And I just think you can't right now today, you can't show that. And that's where I say I'm not surprised that JD Wicker and company decided to hop on board as one of the first teams in, because what else were they going to do? Right. I mean, if you look at Boise State, like I think you're spot on. If you're Boise State, why would you make a move to this situation out of the Mountain West? That's just lateral. That's not a raise, if you will.
I don't know.
So that's why I agree. The Pac-12 is most certainly selling this as, hey, we're gonna be a power conference, not a group of 5 conference. And I just think that that's dangerous. I think that obviously.
I agree.
Obviously, I don't know, who they're talking to or what guarantees they think they have. But I'm telling you right now, it is not a lock that that's going to be a power conference. I mean, you certainly don't have the brands to justify being a power conference. But, if you can get to, 10 teams, 12 teams, and you can put something together, I guess maybe you have a shot. But
and here's my question. What is and this is a reach, nobody has told me this, but just talking to some folks early this morning, what is the number financially that the Pac-12 has to get to? I mean, I think it's $50 million a year. I think you have to get these new members at a minimum. You've got to guarantee them $5 million in TV revenue.
Right.
At a minimum in their media rights deal, it would have to be $50 million. Who is going to help you get to $50 million? Well, if you look, the state of Texas now becomes incredibly important. And I think without a doubt, UTSA has to be in that conversation, because are they not on a level, especially in football? You're telling me that they're not on a Mountain West level already? I think they are.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, I think you look at the expectations of their program, it would suggest they are.
And the bigger issue is, I don't know that there's another program in Texas that makes sense. Texas, El Paso, UTEP has just not been good enough. I don't think that a Tarleton is going to do that. And we were looking at this. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, looking at Conference USA is very interesting, but aren't we all looking at the AAC? Is in that, because I think there's one team in the AAC, and I've tried to reach out this morning. Obviously, it's only 8:30 in the morning in Florida, so it's been tough to get in touch with most people. But I think South Florida is an incredibly important asset right now, because that is a university that, had they had an on-campus stadium at the time, I believe they would have gotten a Big 12 invite. I think that they would have been. I think the UCF South Florida argument was pretty heated, and I think if you look at USF, I think that is a very interesting target.
Well, and I think it's not just the school itself. I also think one consideration to being a power conference in today's landscape is geography. You look at, the SEC is really the only conference that's not a national conference, where they're more kind of cornered in that section of the country, but they get away with that obviously because of the brands and the quality of the football they play. They can get away with that. So you look at the Big Ten and you look at the Big 12. You're spread out. I mean, you've got Mountain Time Zone, Pacific Time Zone, obviously Central and East Coast as well. So I think those two conferences are the pinnacle of being national, conferences from a geographic standpoint. But I'm telling you, I also think that this ACC situation kind of plays into decision making if you're this Pac-12, upstart. You think about the timeline we're working with here. So obviously we're going to get an official announcement. Like we're going to get, some more understanding when this officially comes out that they're adding these schools. But if, the ACC melts down in the next, inside of the next 2 years, because remember, they've got till July 2026. So you've got all of next year and then half of the following year to add these teams and get it done. Now, obviously, you need leeway to do paperwork and process. So it's basically by the end of next year, you would have to add. You'd have to get to 10. I agree. It needs to be 10 at least. So will the ACC melt down before then? I don't think so. I would be surprised. But it's something you got to look at. But
they don't need to melt down now. I think, again, the 2026 calendar is where you need to be looking at. I think that's the next major shift in power conference realignment. And it is expensive. A lot of people have already been asking me on DM, do I think that Cal and Stanford can get out of the ACC? We know that story. We've seen this movie before.
Right.
You're going to pay more in lawyers' fees than exit fees. And I think that's a non-starter. Unless somehow, some way, Florida State and Clemson are like, oh, yeah, if we kick them to the curb, let's do it. I think that'd be very difficult for the ACC to do, and I don't think that they would do it. And again, I just ask, why would Stanford and Cal do that? I also am very curious about USF, and I think the Bulls they break ground in what, October on their new stadium in Tampa. I said Tampa, Florida. That's a huge market. And that's already a very competitive athletic program. I'd be looking at them. Now, obviously, I don't believe that the Tulanes and the Memphises of the world are great fits. But would anybody question the Pac-12 if they added USF, Tulane, and UTSA?
No, I wouldn't question them as a G5 conference.
And then,
not at all.
And then you add UNLV.
Yeah, I mean.
And all of a sudden you have 4, and now you have a representation in every time zone.
I get it from that standpoint. This is their problem, though. That's the play. I agree. That's the play. But that play doesn't justify power status. And that's what I'm wondering. Who are you talking to that could help get you to that next level? Because you only need maybe 2 more schools that are power players right now to kind of justify and say, hey, well, we've got Oregon State, Washington State, we've got these 2 power schools.
I'm telling you, they've got to get this UNLV situation worked out. They've got to have it. And I think it is very, what the UNLV, watch UNLV in this. Watch UNLV in this. That's the first school that was brought up to me this morning.
Right.
Las Vegas is a great television market, but the problem is UNLV is not even third there. You look at the Golden Knights. The Raiders obviously are number 1. You look at the Golden Knights. There's a lot of people who believe that the Aces are a bigger draw than UNLV. And at this point, I can't say I disagree.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the NBA expanding into that market too.
But that hasn't happened. I'm talking about like what's going on right now there. Mm-hmm. Right. I think we would agree the Raiders are number 1.
Of course.
The region is not, and I think you need to understand this as well. The region is not just Las Vegas, Clark County, even just the state of Nevada. The region is the mountain region, which is, hey, Nevada, Arizona, northern Arizona, the entire state of Utah. I cannot tell you, we know dozens of people that are Raiders season ticket holders here in the Salt Lake Valley.
Oh, because you got to remember, it's only, 5 hours
drive
from Salt Lake to Vegas?
It's a 30-minute flight.
Yeah.
It is not a long flight.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at You look at the pathway that everything in the Pac-12 runs through Las Vegas. There's just no doubt about that.
Well, and I think this Las Vegas point's interesting too, because we've speculated and pondered as to why Brett Yormark and the Big 12 have tried to get into that market a little bit, and have run some events there and done some things there. Like, it's interesting, like, why was Media Day there instead of, in Texas, let's say, or like wherever, like, that was an interesting move. So that's why I'm saying, like, anytime we talk about like realignment or schools moving or whatever the case may be, expansion, certainly, I think that you have to understand that conversations are being had way ahead of when the public hears about it. And so
yes,
when I think about Brett Yormark's role in this conversation, like, the Big 12 is sitting here saying, hey, like, we know what they're cooking up over there in a reimagined Pac-12. Hey, let's go and do Media Day in Vegas and see how that goes for us. Let's put on a good show, put on a good event. And they did. Media Day was very successful for the Big 12 this year. It just was odd when they said it was going to be in Las Vegas. So I
think if you put a Pac-12 conference together that has UNLV in it, I mean, you instantly become a Las Vegas market, which I think a lot of people are concerned about. With all due respect,
right?
I'm going to tell you that Corvallis and Spokane are not huge markets, and you could quite realistically build this conference around the city of Las Vegas. But again, how much appetite is there, and is UNLV willing to do? You're capable, right? You're capable, but are you willing to do what you have to do to become a Power 5 player at UNLV? You're capable.
It's a big ask, dude. I'm telling you, it's
but
a
are you
huge
willing?
ask.
You're already playing your games at Allegiant. But the question that I would ask, is it worth it for UNLV to allocate the resources financially, the manpower? We're talking again I go back to this whole thing because everybody in the Pac-12 DMing me and tweeting at me this morning about how I said the Pac-12 was dead, and how many of these institutions are willing to pay $200 million a year to play football?
Yeah, and let's be really clear on the Pac-12 is
but
dead.
That's not
thing.
A small question. That's $200 million.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when we talked about the revenue of a lot of these schools the last couple of weeks, you're talking about Ohio State money, bro. You're talking about like the best of the FBS type money. And with all due respect, like, it's no shade to, UNLV or Fresno State or San Diego State or whoever you want to look at, but you're not on that level right now. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you're the person this morning saying, oh, well, you guys said the Pac-12 is dead, but now they're reimagining it. Let's be really clear. They haven't reimagined anything yet, because they're only at 6 schools right now, assuming that this is all they announced, these 4 additions. So you still have to go out and find a minimum of 2 more. And, it'd be nice if you found 4 more to get to 10. Then after that, you're going to have to justify how a conference full of, USFs or Tulanes or all the schools from the Mountain West, how that's a power conference, because I just don't buy it, man.
Yeah, well, we'll find out here in about 29 minutes when they make that announcement in the Pac-12. But from what we know, and let's talk about what we know. What we know is, according to reports, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State are joining a new Pac-12 conference. This is probably going to cost the Pac-12 with the poaching penalties, the exit fees. And one of the things I'm very interested in, I think it's critical. Are we talking about 2025? I think we are. They did not, and I think this is an important point, they did not extend their scheduling agreement for 2025. So they don't have a football schedule or a scheduling partner for next season. So if you add these 4 teams today and they begin play a year from now, that's close to $150 million in cost just to add these 4 members because of penalties, exit fees, and reading through the Mountain West Grant rights this morning, it's pretty locked solid. And a lot of these penalties that you're going to pay the Mountain West are to help the Mountain West survive until they can move forward, if they're able to move forward. Because if they lose UNLV, I think it's over.
Right.
I just don't know what value you have. I believe that they would probably have to merge, which was brought to me this morning as well, that they would have to merge with Conference USA for survival, which I think if you look at Conference USA and you look at the brands in Conference USA, it would make some sense for Conference USA and for the Mountain West, because you look at Conference USA, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Florida International, Middle Tennessee, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, UTEP, and New Mexico. So you're largely an East Coast conference with a little bit of Texas and New Mexico, folding in the Nevadas of the world, the Air Force academies of the world. That makes a lot of sense geographically.
Sure.
So I think the Mountain West and Conference USA have some absolute equity in each other.
Synergy.
And these exit fees, if you get $150 million in a cash windfall from these exiting 4 members at a minimum, and I think that pushes closer to $175 million if UNLV goes with. If you're getting that kind of money, I think you are in a position now where you will be able to survive for a year and then merge with Conference USA. So I would keep an eye on that move. I know Gloria Nevarez has fantastic relationships across the college athletics landscape. So I am certain that she already has had a plan. She's known about this. I'm told, by the way, that this is at least 6 weeks old, because they've known for several months that this merger, they tried to merge the Mountain West, and I guess maybe I'm underselling part of the lead. The Mountain West and the Pac-12 tried to get together and expand what I was told was a framework agreement for a merger, and they just were not able to come together on money. They were not able to come together on who was going to run that conference. They just weren't able to finally iron out the details to get that over the line, which is why the scheduling agreement had a poaching clause in it. Hey, you're going to poach our schools. You're going to pay us a minimum of $10 million for each one you take. So right there, you're at $40 million, right? So I think it's going to be $36 million per university to leave. That right there is, what is that? That's $140 million. You do some quick math there. 120 million, 144 million, 184 million. Like you're into this for a good chunk of change. And what I am also told is there are some negotiations going on behind the scenes for what that total penalty number will be, exit fees and poaching. But if I'm Gloria Nevarez, I am not. In reading their grant of rights this morning, there is no provision in the grant of rights that she has to negotiate that down.
Yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't negotiate it down. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. Like again, and this is what we see in college football: this poaching, this sort of consolidation where you're the Mountain West and you've got this. I guess we're going to call it a conference. These two schools that are trying to reboot a conference are poaching your best brands. So I wouldn't negotiate it down. I wouldn't budge at all. I would say, hey, if you're trying to do this, you can go ahead and cut us a check.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and cough up all the fees in the grant of rights, and then we'll go from there. And I don't know, to me, I understand that it's valuable to have relationships with, people across the landscape, but if I'm her, I'm not budging at all. I'm leaning on the grants of rights, an agreement that everyone signed, and you're gonna have to pay your way out. And if you want to do it that badly, then go ahead and cut the check.
Yeah, and just texting with a source of mine, I think USF, and people are coming online now, so we're starting to hear back from some of our sources. USF, I think, is absolutely a target. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, and I don't know this to be fact, but 2 weeks ago, I was talking to somebody who was talking about Tulane being a great target because they were a target previously. And the real issue here is you don't have SMU as a target anymore because SMU is in the ACC. And getting out of the ACC, I think it'd be very difficult for them.
And I also think that's a huge part of this conversation.
I do as well. I think that, I think USF, Tulane, UTSA, and UNLV is a really good flow chart.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a really good pathway. I think that makes a lot of sense. USF, again, is in Tampa, which gives you the Gulf Coast in South Florida. They have a great relationship with the University of Miami, which I think is interesting. Although, honestly, I have heard that Miami and USF are Big 12 targets as well. I think that's something to look at because there's no doubt the Big 12 is in a far better place than this reimagined Pac-12 would be.
Right.
But I think a lot of this is hyperbole, and I think we need to be careful with that. What we know is that you look at this breaking news, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State in about 20 minutes will be announced as the newest members of the Pac-12.
Yeah, I just think that there is a lot of risk involved in this. Like,
yes.
a
huge amount of risk.
Yeah, as we talk through this and as we we kind of, wrap our heads around this, if you will, you're talking about restarting this conference without a way to easily justify that you are a power conference. And I know I keep bringing that up, but isn't that why you would do this if you're any of these schools? Why would, if you think about why would Boise State as a perfect example, as we said earlier, why is Boise State doing this? Well, they're doing it because they're clearly being told, hey, obviously we're going to get that Power 5 designation back. And then from there, we need to win some football games. So if you win your football games and you join this conference, you're going to make more money. And that, to me, I just don't think that's a certainty. I don't think that's a given. Like, you look at, the way Ross Dellinger, who reported this, spoke about that portion of it. He's very careful to say that it would be presumed that they would have an AQ, an auto qualifier, but he was very careful not to say that would be as a power conference, just that they would be able to get an auto qualifier.
And the first thing I was told this morning is, I from a very well placed sources, I don't see how this would make them whole as a power conference.
So if that's the case, if you're a Group of 5 conference, what is the thing? And this is what I'm looking for in the release. What is this? What's the thing or the item where these schools are like, wow, this, we need to jump on this. This makes a lot of sense. Like, that's what I'm not quite clear on, because it's not a clear path to being designated a power conference.
Because I don't mean to be redundant. Do you have $200 million a year to play college football?
Yeah, I don't think they do.
You do.
I mean, I don't know how they could. And that's the hard part.
That's what this is going to cost you. If you want to be a power conference, and again, why would you do any of this if you're not trying to win?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to spend the money and allocate the resources in humanity, facilities, all of that, if you're not trying to win. And Boise State's not doing this just to compete, because they're already competing.
Well, and you look at Boise State, they've already obviously invested heavily in their infrastructure, their facilities.
Yeah.
And they've clearly been on this arc where they've been trying to get to the power level, which I love. I respect that. I love that grind. Like, I appreciate that about them so much, because so many schools are not about that. They are, we're going to have a football department, but we're going to be trash and not care about it. So at least with Boise State, I can say that. But let's look at Wickerville, right? San Diego State is not investing in their football program, in my opinion. You haven't taken it seriously. And the problem with that is now it's come around and you're going to, in 20 minutes or whatever, be announced as joining this conference. But I'm telling you, I just think people like to get ahead of this, and they want to say, oh, well, the Pac-12 is alive again. They're not alive until they have at least 8 teams. And furthermore, you're probably not really alive until you've got 10 teams, and you've got a fresh TV deal after this one that's just kind of starting.
Well, apparently Brett McMurphy is reporting that the Pac-12 is expected to, he's confirming what we reported, offset the cost of the exit fees. The Pac-12 must pay the Mountain West a total of $43 million for poaching the 4 schools out of the Mountain West.
Right.
The Mountain West will receive a total of $111 million in exit fees, which is interesting because if you look at the Mountain West grant of rights says it's $36 million on a 2-year notice. So I don't know where the 111 comes from. I'd be very interested to see that. But if you just do some simple math, $36 million times 4 is $144 million, which is what it would cost those universities to leave on a 1-year notice. So I'm curious. This announcement it's going to be hugely important to find out when are they joining the conference.
Yeah. So and again, I'm just saying this because this is what's being reported as well. Ross said that it's a $17 million exit fee, and then the Pac-12 would have to pay an additional fee on top of that of 10 to 12. So I think that's also being negotiated because Brett's saying that, Ross is saying this, like we're being told something.
Well, I was told directly this morning that there is a negotiation going on behind the scenes on how much money the Pac-12 is going to pay the Mountain West to poach these 4 members. And one of the details of that is you won't take any more than these 4. And that again goes back to this UNLV thing.
Right.
If it is in fact true, and negotiations are just that, they're negotiating. But if you agree not to take any more than these 4, where does this leave UNLV? And I do think that UNLV is one of those universities that we are consistently asking the question of, why is UNLV not moving? Why is UNLV never in the conversation when it comes to expansion?
Because I think UNLV's never shown the willingness to be aggressive. And
they've never shown the willingness or ability to have the financial resources to play at that level.
Yeah.
And I think that is
which, by the way, it needs to be said, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're not interested in investing in it, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a tough spot because of the market you're in. So when the Pac-12 is trying to reboot itself and they want to capitalize on that market, like, everyone's saying, oh, well, Nevada.
Yeah.
Well, Nevada's not really the same situation as UNLV.
But also, not to be a jerk about this, why is San Diego State doing this? San Diego State's not doing this to win football games.
No.
San Diego State is doing this to leverage their television market, in my opinion, because you have all the facilities and all the resources you need, and you're not going to see a huge cash influx off of this unless somehow you got wild and made $100 million a year TV deal, which I just cannot see. I don't know why. San Diego State's very interesting because you have every reason. This is the SMU conversation we've had for years. You tell us how great you are. Why haven't you been great?
Because you haven't invested.
But you've been great in basketball. But you haven't been great in football. And you have a crown jewel of a state. Snapdragon is beautiful. It's in a beautiful spot. The community has embraced it. It's a multi-mixed use facility. Like, it's everything you want. You have a great naming rights partner, and you're not even competitive on the football field.
By the way, would a college football head coach who's been in the game for at least 10 years, if not longer, would this excite them? Would an opportunity to coach San Diego State in this scenario, in this conference? Because again, I think it's still generous to call it a conference, but in this situation, would that excite them? Because that's what's going to have to take place. Like I'm telling you guys, if you're going to be a power conference, you are going to be subject to revenue sharing, and you're going to be subject to the costs of being a power conference.
Yep.
And I'm just telling you, like, it's all cool. We can all sit here and say, oh man, like the Pac-12 rebooted itself. But if 2 years from now, these schools can't afford to do it, what's the point?
I think that's a huge question. What is the point? I go back to UNLV. UNLV's winning on the football field. UNLV is as good as they have been in some time. Last year was a phenomenal year. And so, again, why is San Diego State not winning on the football field? These are all interesting questions that at this point almost don't matter because in 12 minutes, we're going to get a press release from the Pac-12 announcing this, and we'll go from there. All right, let's get your comments in here. As always, the comments section is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app in the business with the best promotion I have ever seen. Download the Prize Picks app. It's in the description of this YouTube channel below. On this show, just click the link if you are watching on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, Snapface, TikTok, and stuff. Make sure that you download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty, M-O-N-T-Y, Monty. That gives you the ability to deposit $5 in a new Prize Picks account. They're going to give you 50 more. Deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more. It's the best daily fantasy promo I have ever seen. And Prize Picks, super easy. You're going to make 3 selections. And tonight in the NFL is very interesting because we get the Buffalo Bills in South Florida.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills tonight of Thursday Night Football. Josh Allen is 246.5 passing yards. Will he only have 246, or do you believe he will have 247 or more passing yards against Miami? Well, you're going to take more. If you think he's going to have less, you're going to take less. Do that on 3 different plays. Use their flex pick, which means you only have to win 2 of those 3. Be correct on 2 of those 3. Bet $5, and they're going to pay you.
And I'm just telling you guys, I said this yesterday, highly recommend this play. It's pretty much a gimme. Half a yard on Caleb Williams.
The promo play is Caleb Williams. Every week they have a promo play.
Yeah.
Which is half a yard passing, more or less, on Caleb Williams.
So take the promo on Caleb Williams. Then you're going to go Goblin, which is easier as far as more or less on Josh Allen and Tua tonight. The Goblin for Josh Allen is only 199.5. That's a gimme. You know he's going to have that.
Done.
Tua is a Goblin at 224.5.
That's done.
That's done. So right there, if you put in $20, let's say, or $5 or whatever, you're basically going to double your money on that play.
Deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. You'll play all season long on that money. At Prize Picks, download the app. Use the promo code Money. Hello,
hey, Marty.
Oh, look at this. A new member of the YouTube, the members only content. James, who I guess likes stadiums, and apparently he's a fan of the Big 12.
We're not building
DM Jake. He'll put you into the members only group on Instagram.
I'm just gonna tell you now, James, your leash for putting blueprints in the members only group for stadium expansion is gonna be short. Okay.
Oh my God. Lopes fan Gabe, who's been a member for 20 months.
Let's go, baby. Appreciate you, Gabe.
Says, hit the like button, you freaking casuals. Appreciate you, my guy. The real Pete Forte gifts 10 Monty Show memberships.
What a day it is for you, sir.
An exciting day to be a San Diego State fan. Calford gives 20 Monty.
Okay, Calford, you got to flex on him a little bit.
Let's go. Appreciate that. Odessa will be Russian again.
Why do days like this always bring out the names, dude?
He gives us $5 to say. I would add 6 more. UTSA, Rice, Memphis, Tulane, Florida Atlantic, and South Florida. Florida Atlantic's a great basketball institution.
Yeah.
Rice is just a really small school.
Again,
a really small school, but it gives you Houston. It gets you into Houston.
But it doesn't get you in a power status. Like
UTSA, I agree with.
I don't disagree with the schools you're talking about adding here. Like, you're not wrong. But I'm telling you, you can't just add schools based on geography alone. Geography is a big part, but you have to find a way to create a conference that, in my opinion, says, hey, yes, you can somewhat say we'd be a power conference. Because obviously, it's not available to you to add power schools currently. Like, you don't have power schools just sitting here waiting to join a conference, so you're going to have to go out and do a lot of selling and figure out how to build a conference that the public in college football views as a power conference. And I don't know that you're able to do that. I don't know. I'm not confident in that. I'm not confident that Washington State and Oregon State on their own are enough with this 8 other G5 schools that you would add to be a power conference. I just don't think that's enough.
By the way, this is a formality, but I appreciate you texting me. The Pac-12 Board of Directors voted on Tuesday to approve membership for those 4 universities from the Mountain West. So I think we know what this post is going to be. But it'll be very interesting to see what is the upshot. And the thing that I think is outstanding on this, the information we need, when do these 4 members start playing and competing in the Pac-12?
Right. When do we start painting the fields with the logos? Because
you're going to have Oregon State, Washington State that are already competing in the conference. Boise, Colorado, Fresno, and San Diego State.
Right.
All competing in the conference.
Which, by the way, I think those teams would produce phenomenal football games. That
Solid.
needs to be said. Really
those are
football games.
But again, this has to be the beginning, not the end.
Right.
Obviously, I am told they have 4 more members that they will add to get to 10. And they are trying to work the logistics of that out. But I am also told that they are making this announcement before they get to 10. Because they are trying to use this group of universities as leverage to say, hey, come look at this group of universities. It's a good football conference.
Look what we have now. Look where we could go.
Yeah. And I think that's what we are all waiting on. $9 million norm for $5. Does it make sense now for the Pac-12 to go to Stanford and Cal to rejoin? You're not going to be able to do that.
With all due respect, it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not because they can't do it. That's the problem.
That grant of rights.
Ironclad, dude. Like
looking at because somebody this morning said the Big 12's in real trouble. The Pac-12 is going to poach a bunch of their members. First of all, seriously. Second of all, reading the Big 12 grant of rights this morning, there's nothing to even talk about.
Yeah.
Like that you're not getting out. You're not paying $500 million if you're Stanford and Cal, $1 billion combined to go make $5 to $7 million a year
because the flight's shorter.
I don't think you're doing that. It would be impossible in my opinion.
I tend to agree with your sentiment. Like it's nonsense to say that Big 12 schools are interested in joining. Again, it's not a conference. This situation, right? I'm not calling it a conference until you officially are at 8 or 10 teams. We're not doing that.
And there's not going to be a way for you to say, yeah, we're going to be a Power 5 conference.
How's that working?
That requires a vote. That requires, subcommittees. That requires, and I would also remind you, the college football playoff management structure would have to vote on that as well.
And again, why would, and we've said this before, we're going to keep saying it. Why would the people who are currently power conferences want to share more money?
I don't know. And I don't believe they would.
They wouldn't. So what they're going to do, again, is I still believe the Super League happens.
Oh, I think that's a certainty.
That's coming. And the power conferences have no reason to rock the boat on that process. Why add or give this situation out west any opportunity? I mean, again, you're basic, because what's really happening here? If you're a power conference, if you're Greg Sankey or any of these commissioners sitting here looking at this, what's really happening here? All that's really happening is consolidation in the G5.
Yes.
That's all that this is. This is like the Pac-12 is going to tell you, oh, we're restarting our conference and we're back, baby. We put the band back together. But all this really is this is 2 former power conference schools trying to get back in, and they're doing that by consolidating the group of 5.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so if you're the power conferences, you have no need to say, oh yeah, hey, let's give them a power AQ. Let's do. Why? You wouldn't.
Wasn't there a coach the other day, and I'm trying to find it. There was another coach the other day who was openly talking about huge realignment in the power in a Super League coming. And I thought I sent Jake and I text all day long. I thought I sent it to you, but I mean, this is one of the worst kept secrets in all of college athletics. A super league is coming.
Right.
It's not a matter of if, but when.
Right.
A super league is coming. So we'll see. I just think we need to slow our roll. We need to, there's so many unanswered questions here. And again, I will just share with you as we should get a press release here in the next couple of minutes on this breaking news this morning. Another seismic shift in college athletics and in college realignment as the Pac-12 is adding, and the board of directors, I was told the other night several days ago voted for Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State to join the reimagined Pac-12. My sources believe it'll be a year from now that they will join, but we're gonna find out here in just a matter of moments. And they are obviously leaving the Mountain West, and the question is, what is the cost of that? There are significant contractual obligations for the Pac-12 to pay north of $120 million to the Mountain West in exit fees and penalties for poaching their members. And my sources have told me that there is also a negotiation happening behind the scenes about, hey, these will be the only 4 members that you will take. We'll see if that, in fact, comes to fruition. I don't know that will happen. I would assume Gloria Nevarez today will have a press conference or will release a statement. But it's very interesting, again, that UNLV is not part of this conversation at this moment. I would watch UNLV very closely. I am also told that the CW is willing to expand their TV deal with the Pac-12, and that Prime Video is having ongoing discussions about a streaming component, which we know there's a relationship in place between the remaining members of the Pac-12 and that executive committee and Prime Video, because they have had long ongoing conversations dating back to the meltdown, previous to the meltdown of the Pac-12. The CW is already the in-place TV partner with the Pac-12, so there is a lot of synergy there. And it's simply, in my opinion, a matter of time before we really get the larger universal plan here from the Pac-12. And I think we're in a position now where we have to figure out how to and what's the right way to say this? We have to figure out how to move forward. If you're the Pac-12, you have to figure out how to move forward to become a power conference again. And I think it's going to be very difficult to do that. I think it is going to be very, very difficult to do that.
Right.
I don't know specifically what that timeline looks like, but my sources have told me that there is a plan in place and they know who the next 4 members will be. I am told directly by sources in the know, it'll be 10 members at a minimum. They'd like, I think, to get back to 12, but they will not stop until they have 10, and they believe they have 4 more in addition to the 4 more we know about.
Yeah.
So it's simply now just a matter of time before we get here. Grad Slacker, who's been a member of the show for 12 months.
Okay.
Wyoming should be in discussions for the PAC. They consistently invest in athletics. There's not leverage there for Wyoming because, again, go back to what we've always said about this. Why is USF a better fit for the Pac-12 than Wyoming? It brings you Tampa. It brings you South Florida. It brings you another time zone. And in this case, I think it's about television, which isn't necessarily population, but time zone. It allows you to schedule across multiple time zones, which I think is significant.
Oh, and relevance nationally. I mean, USF is going to be more relevant nationally than Wyoming is. And hey, I get it. Like Wyoming obviously is a, a season ender, somebody who you can lose to and will ruin your season. But USF, I think just would be a better, Florida's going to be more attractive than Wyoming with all due respect.
Boise State has made a statement, quote, Boise State has accepted a formal invitation and been unanimously approved by the conference board of directors to join the Pac-12 conference. The university and conference announced Thursday. The Broncos will join the Pac-12 conference effectively July 1st, 2026. Oh, boy. That's a huge number. That is a year and 10 months away.
Yeah.
July 1st, 2026. That is exactly what we needed to know. What is your immediate reaction to that?
I mean, it's going to be a big number, no doubt. It's going to be, my immediate reaction is just how are they splitting up this money? So, like, obviously the conference.
No, July 1st, 2026.
Right.
What is your reaction to that timeline? I think that's going to be very difficult. That's going to make it harder, in my opinion.
Why do you say?
That's a long way away.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is and that's why.
Well, from a scheduling perspective, that's interesting. Yeah.
But that's why. What does this tell us? The Mountain West was not willing to negotiate the buyouts. They were not willing to say, hey, okay, pay us this amount, you can go today or next season, whatever. That tells you that Gloria Navarro has stood firm on her grant of rights.
Yeah, and I agree with that. She should have, and I'm glad to see that appears to be what's going on here. And I think that the immediate question is going to be, hey, what's up for this next season, right? The 25 season, because you're going to have to, if these schools, because if these schools are going to join for 26, 27, then that means you have a season here in the middle where you're going to have to figure out, what's your schedule going to look like, who are you going to play, like what's that going to be?
Pending approval of the full agreement by the Boise State or by the Idaho State Board of Education, who governs Boise State. Boise State will be joined in a reimagined conference with incumbent members Oregon State, Washington State, as well as Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State. Competition for all conference sports begins in the 26-27 academic year. Oof.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have this window here, this middle year specifically for the Pac-2, where they're going to have to figure out what scheduling looks like.
And here is the San Diego State announcement.
Man, that's really, wow. I'm really glad that your guys' graphic department.
Yeah, but I mean, can you look at the creativity?
Dude, wow,
the creativity involved
I
here.
hope people know.
My God.
And I'm all jokes aside, that right there, that graphic takes less than 5 minutes to create. Literally less than 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And you've known about this for 4 days.
But here's a question: what does this tell you? What does this tell you? Boise State carries the water in that town.
Yeah.
Because Boise State made the announcement. That's wild to me. That is, don't let that fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And read the last paragraph. Who's quoted in that last paragraph? Said Dr. Marlene Trump, Boise State president. Who carries the water in the Pac-12 town these days? The potato folks do.
Yeah.
That's not insignificant. JD Wicker, I'm talking to you. That is a huge moment. I think that is a huge moment in time.
Yeah, and again, my immediate question is, if you're Boise State sitting here and you're all excited about this and you're joining what you call a conference, what is the upside here? What is the thing that puts you over the top? Because I don't care who you are or who you're talking to. Like, if Kirk Schultz is telling you that the conference will be recognized as a power conference, how can you trust that after everything that's gone down? Like, that's what I'm struggling with. Oof. Like, I'm happy. Hey, great. Boise State is joining the Pac-12 and this is all moving. The ball is rolling down the path now. Okay, great. But how do you get from here to the next level? Because again, as we discussed earlier in the show, if you weren't here, the idea that these schools are going to join this Pac-12 brand for a lateral move is a mistake.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
And
I don't think that's what they're doing at all. I think that you're going to take this will be incremental growth. You're going to see that they're going to go from 3 to 4 because it right now is at $3.4 million in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And here is the here are the
Again,
the Pac-12 just released.
Dude,
this is all we got.
maybe I'm just an asshole. Is that what this is?
Is
this just me being a hater?
This is the whole thing.
That's the best you could do. Again, that takes and I'm being serious. That takes less than 5 minutes to do that. Put it on a background with a couple of graphics.
Is this the pro rata we deserve?
And by the way, I just also want to point out the hey, it's a beautiful day in the conference is the best you could do for your tweet. Like you couldn't say like, hey, we're proud to announce. Hey, we're really excited about, what we're announcing here. Like this is what we're doing.
What does this tell you? What does this tell you? And this is the tweet Jake was referencing. What does this tell you? We are far from finished. Why are we not getting an official release? Hey, here are the details. Because they don't have the official details. I think that this came together very quickly after the scheduling agreement broke down. I think they did a phenomenal job. Now, here's the advantage of having a small circle. Did it get out? No, it did not. Because I am told, as we reported exclusively here on the show, this vote happened Tuesday night. Is when the vote from the Pac-12 Board of Directors happened.
Right. Bro,
it's Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Mountain, 6 a.m. Pacific. It didn't get out. And so I think this is a very, very big moment in time. Breaking news this morning as Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State are joining the Pac-12 starting in 2026. On the field of play. This is just the beginning because, again, I think it's important to point out, some of the other things that we've heard this morning as we continue to get more communication from our sources that UNLV was hesitant to be part of this at the onset. We are also told that the Pac-12 is playing a little bit of hardball. You join now or you're not going to join in the future. The Pac-12, I am told by sources, does believe that they are a Power 5 conference and does believe that they will have an automatic bid to the college football playoff, which had to be a selling point to Boise because Boise essentially has that by winning the Mountain West. If you are champions of the Mountain West and your name is Boise State, you're probably getting into the college football playoff with that G5 auto bid. So this is a very fluid, interesting situation. But now we know, and as has been confirmed, that these members are in fact joining the conference. And you start to look at now the releases coming out. San Diego State, in fact, has made a release, and John David Wicker. In fact, has commented. Listen, I'm not trying to, and I'm with you. I'm not trying to be over the top, a jerk about this thing with John David Wicker. I don't understand. What did we say yesterday? And I'm sorry this is so small, but what did we say yesterday when J.D. Wicker made that statement? He comes out today and says, we are ecstatic to be joining the Pac-12 conference. While we are grateful to the founding members of the Mountain West, to be a founding member of the Mountain West, with 26 years of success in the conference, which you tried to torpedo 2 years ago, we are excited at what lies ahead with these new opportunities. We will continue to compete for the conference championships on the field and to graduate leaders in the community. The move to the Pac-12 is a transformative moment for our entire university, said San Diego State President Adela Della Torre. Joining the Pac-12 opens the door to exciting partnerships and financial growth, all of which will contribute to the success of our student athletes and the vitality of our university community. This is just the beginning. We are poised to attract more top-tier talent, compete at the highest national level, and identify new opportunities that will benefit our one San Diego State community and the San Diego region. Now, again, on this show, we don't like to be boastful.
Right.
But did she not just say in a release I hadn't seen until I just read it to you exactly what I said? This is just the beginning. They are going after more members, more high-profile members. And this is a move that brings Fresno State, San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State more money, more financial leverage. Which, again, I ask, what is UNLV doing? What is UNLV doing? And the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah,
I am really surprised.
Yeah.
I am really surprised by this.
I also think in that statement, the fact that she is saying, we're going to compete at the highest levels nationally, you're going to start to see a ton of those references in these releases. They are going to, do everything that they can do to position themselves as a power conference. And yeah, I'm just telling you, man, you're not going to escape
the
fact that you have two schools that were power schools and a bunch of G5s. And I like Boise State. I like San Diego State.
Yes.
The brands are solid. That doesn't make you a power conference. And that's what my biggest concern is here, man. Like you're sitting here in your release telling us that, oh, this is just the beginning. This is we're going to add the best talent, even though it's not the best talent, but we're going to add the best talent. Everything's amazing. Like, we're excited to make more money, which you are going to make more money.
You are going to make more money.
I'm not sure you're going to make more money in profitability when it's all said and done, but you will have more revenue. And I think that's the next question. So again, I'm just saying, like, this is cool, but let's make sure we temper our expectations and understand that when they say they're going to go out and get the best talent, that's not going to be Power 4 talent.
Yep. Suck It Up Buttercup pays us $10 to say good morning, Ronnie NG. Okay. Jake and Monty, all of you ass-kicking Utes. My butt is still healing after you put the boots to our butts. Hooverville, Texas, known as Waco, salutes you on the win. Odessa will be Russian again for $2 more. Is the PAC angling to get into the Super League? Potentially, but that the PAC doesn't get into the Super League.
Yeah.
The universities get into the Super League.
It's on an individual basis, case by case.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put it that way. Did San Diego State get the pro rata they deserve? We'll find out. Notice, but again, no financial details, no TV contract details, no AQ big details, none of that.
So all we're doing here today with these schools is we're putting out press releases that hey, we are buying a new car, but we're not able to tell you what the interest rate or monthly payment will be on that new car, but it smells really good. That's all this is, man. This is just, hey, we're joining the Pac-12.
It's awesome. Got lug nuts. Our new car has lug nuts.
Hey, nice, dude. We got a car again, bro. Nice. Like, that's the hard part.
Suck It Up Buttercup for $5. Good morning, Jake and Monty, and all you ass-kicking Utes. Good luck to you. Okay.
Nice.
Let's see. Ron Nolan. Hawaii is going to the A. Okay. I'm certain. That's awesome. Check it out. Says Boise State 1000%. Mr. Ed Wayner, could a 18 Pac-12 with 2 Texas schools get $15 million per team? No. Because who are the 2 Texas schools? UTEP and UTSA? That's not bringing you $15 million per school. Right?
No.
I don't think in any way, shape, or form. I think you look at what you have in ESPN. ESPN has plainly said, and I'll check with my sources at the 4-letter, but ESPN has plainly said the money pot is not endless for TV rights fees.
And again, for what? What is the justification to spend that money. We're not talking about the SEC.
You already have the time zone.
Yeah. Like what is the impetus? What is the reason? Like, how does this help anybody else?
I don't know. I think that's a very interesting question. Ron Nolan, Hawaii's going to the ACC. Okay. Go balance. Ron, whichever team scores more points. Okay. Eric and Raleigh. Nah, they are buying a heavily used car at an auction as is. Look, high miles, low price. I mean, I don't disagree with that. And I think when we look at what you're getting, and if you're just waking up this morning, another seismic shift. Boise State, San Diego State. I'm sorry, just waking up. Fresno State and Colorado State. Jake always says to me, can you just let that go? All joining the Pac-12. And our sources have told us that they will be at 10 before too long. And that the Pac-12 has been very clear that if you are in the Mountain West, and I'm curious to see how this plays out, but the Pac-12 has said, and I was told to UNLV, join now or don't join at all. And there are ongoing negotiations with the Mountain West about what those exit fees will be. And I think we now know, because these teams will not begin competing on the field under the Pac-12, crest, if you will, under the Pac-12 conference until the 2026 season. So this season and next season, they remain in the Mountain West. Which, again, what does that get us? Not access to the college football playoff and the 12-team playoff.
Right.
Doesn't get you access to that. So I think in 2 years, the college football landscape will be completely different. Completely different. We will not be in the same space when these teams begin, if they ever. And I think that is exactly right. Exactly right. A pretty good source of mine said, do these teams ever take a snap in the Pac-12? I think there's a good chance that they don't. I think there's a very good chance they do not. And I think it is.
Well, where else would they take a snap? I don't understand that.
In a super league, because you're 2 years away. What's happened in the last 2 years in college football? In realignment. I mean, the world has changed. The Pac-12 went away and now is back within a year.
Yeah.
The game just continues to change. 2 years from now, I don't know that college football conferences exist.
I think they will exist. I think that the Super League is going to be a top tier opportunity for the right school. I think that, again, Boise State.
So then that assumes you're not going to be a Power 5.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way they're a Power 5. I mean, I'm not, again, I feel like I'm the one being cynical today about this, but like you're trying to position yourself already as a power conference with nothing to stand on. Just because you say you're a power conference doesn't mean you are a power conference. Like, I can sit here and say that I'm, 6'4", 200 pounds, and I'm ripped and ready to go. That doesn't mean I am. Like I get it that that's what they're trying to do, and that's what I would expect them to do. But again, the rain cloud over the situation is good luck, Pac-12. Going to Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey and Jim Phillips and Brett Yormark and all the people that manage the college football playoff, good luck getting enough influence to get approved for a power AQ. And this is so important because, again, if you're not going to get a power AQ, why are you doing any of this anyway?
That's a good question.
So that's my thing. This is cool. Like, we can talk about, will they ever play a snap under the Pac-12 umbrella? Yes, they will, because Colorado State is not a Super League team, right? Like San Diego State, with all due respect, you're not a Super League team. Boise State is a borderline Super League team. I think that comes down to whether they want to participate at that level or not. They probably could compete on the football field with a lot of those teams, but it comes down to financial willingness, if you will. So I'm just sitting here saying, man, like, let's not, I don't even feel comfortable saying the Pac-12 is back. as everyone else is saying.
No, I totally agree.
Because you're not back. Your brand is putting out tweets and posts and things like that, but you're not. Let me remind everybody what this conference was for those who seemingly have forgotten today. You're talking about Oregon, SC, UCLA, Utah, Washington, Oregon State, Washington State. Like, you're talking about big power brands who are no longer here. So I'm just struggling initially here to be like, yeah, wow, this is so exciting. Like, we've got another power conference back, man. Like Brett McMurphy tweeting the Pac-12 is back, baby. They're real. Okay, I guess. Like,
I don't agree that the Pac-12 is back.
Yeah, I can't say that with I can't 100% say that.
No. Justin Bemis for $5. Not UTEP, but Texas State did just smoke UTSA. They have been improving in football. Well, San Marcos and San Marcos and San Antonio are neighbors. I mean, they're down the freeway from each other. But I think Texas State doesn't have, at some level, the brand has to matter.
Right.
Right. And I think UTSA has been building. I mean, if locality mattered in the state of Texas, you'd probably just take UTEP. I mean, that's the closest major university, right?
Right.
I think UTSA, with all due respect, I just don't think Texas State has the brand. That doesn't feel like a win. I don't know that you can sell San Marcos, Texas. I can sell San Antonio. Can you sell San Marcos, Texas? I mean, if we're just being honest about who we're talking about.
Right.
Right. I think Texas is always going to be an important part of this. But if we're just talking about logistics and travel, I think UTEP and UTSA, I think it's the same conversation with Rice. Can I sell Rice? Yeah, they're an academic powerhouse. But that's a tiny university, man.
Right. That's more of a baseball university than anything.
But and they do compete in football, but they're tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, they are really a small university.
So that's what I'm looking for.
I think it's USF, Tulane. I would probably lean UTSA, UNLV. That makes a lot of sense to me. That's not a Power 5 conference.
And by the way, when you do get an official announcement, when we do get to that where like we're getting a press conference about it, when we get to that stage, I hope someone asks, hey, how do you plan positioning yourself or selling yourself as a power conference? Because I'm curious. I'm not even curious as to the mechanics of it as so much as to the thought process with it. Because if you're this far down the road, Kirk Schultz and then the folks at Oregon State clearly sat down and said, okay, this is our roadmap back to stability. This is our roadmap back to where we were. And clearly they have some idea or some approach that they're going to take as to how to get back to power status. But again, I will say the positive side is, let's say that you're unable to get the power AQ. You still have some of the top G5 brands, and you can still get in that way.
And again, more sourcing as sources continue to come in and get back to us this morning. This all broke at midnight last night, and then I was texting with people at 4 a.m. Mountain Time. So it is very early, but I am told that according to sources close to the situation, that the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are negotiating, and in fact, part of that negotiation is who you will not poach any more of our universities. And I think that the reason that there was an impetus to make this announcement now is because I think they understand that they have to make a move forward for 2025. And I think, let me just read this real quick. And sources are telling me now that a merger is not off the table. That a majority swap of the Mountain West into the Pac-12 is not off the table. But those negotiations are very fluid and they are ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is incredibly important. If you are just getting to the YouTube machine this morning, huge seismic news out of the Pac-12 this morning as they have rated the Mountain West for Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State. And our sources are telling us that They are very actively working to add 4 more members that would get them to 10. One of the big questions is UNLV part of that conversation? I think it makes a lot more sense if we are, in fact, talking about a full-on merger where the majority of the remaining universities in the Pac-12 or in the Mountain West would join the Pac-12, as I am conversing with sources as we speak. I am told that is part of the negotiations, because right now I am also told that Gloria Navarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West, is working very hard to limit this damage, because I think it is believed across college athletics that if the Mountain West loses UNLV, this conference ceases to exist. And I think that's why I will continue to tell you, as I've told you all morning long, that UNLV is a very quiet, interesting player in where this conversation is going. I am told that the Pac-12 has told UNLV, you're going to join now or you're not going to join at all. That has been part of their conversations. I think that there very clearly is a tug of war in this situation where the Mountain West is trying to survive and the Pac-12 is trying to rebuild itself on the back of the Mountain West. And I think that's very interesting if that is in fact the case. Our sources this morning in TV also told us that the CW is willing to expand their deal with the Pac-12 as well. I am told that the Pac-12 has had significant conversations with Prime Video to be a streaming partner. I have not been told what a total number would be, but a TV industry source told me they would be surprised if it surpassed $5 to $7 million per school, which I think makes a lot of sense based on what the geographic footprint and the brand capacity of these universities joining this conference is. I think also it's really important to say there's a lot of unknowns here. We do not have a lot of details about what that next step is, but rest assured, the Pac-12 is not going to sit here and pat itself on the back today or be popping champagne. I am told that they are actively and aggressively working behind the scenes to get to 10 members just as soon as they possibly can. I mean, what is your feeling on UNLV? How pivotal do you think UNLV is in this moment?
Yeah, I think they're at the center of it, and I think that Gloria Navarez in these negotiations is sitting here having to kind of decide, like, am I negotiating from a standpoint of we're going to try to rebuild the Mountain West, we're going to try to pick up some Conference USA teams or some other G5 teams in other conferences, or is this a situation where Gloria Navarez is negotiating from the standpoint of, hey, if you're going to poach UNLV, then you're going to do that from with the assumption that we're going to merge, and then you got to start negotiating who's going to lead the Pac-12, right? Who's going to be the commissioner? How does all that work out? Like, the conversation, I feel like, and yes, UNLV is right in the middle of that because it's Las Vegas, and it's the biggest market that the conference has in the Mountain West, and with all due respect to Boise, I love the town of Boise, but you're not Las Vegas, and I think that's the thing with UNLV, and I also think the hard part is that UNLV is a school that just we see them in basketball in the tournament most years. But it's not like they're a national, championship contender in basketball most of the time. And in football, it goes without saying that they're just not relevant. So that's what I think is difficult with on both sides of the conversation here. For the Pac-12, UNLV is only valuable to you because it's the Las Vegas market, not because they're out here winning the G5 national championship or something crazy. And for Gloria Navarez, UNLV is crucial because I would agree. If you lose UNLV, your conference is pretty much dead, and it puts you in a really bad spot.
Yeah, and just conversing behind the scenes with some sources this morning, I am told very clearly this is not a power conference by somebody in a really well-placed position. I am told that this is not a Power 5 conference, that this will not raise to the level to move the college football playoff managers or the subcommittees at the NCAA level to grant power conference status to this Pac-12, which is a very interesting thing because you're looking at a situation now where you would be, 6 G5, and maybe it's G6, I don't know, but you'd have 6 G5 conferences,
right,
and the 4 remaining Power 4s. And it's a very interesting question. for somebody like San Diego State, who has gone so far out of their way on the pro rata they deserve, did you just make a lateral move?
Yeah, well, I think for San Diego State, and I only say this based off their prior behavior over the summer, this very much feels like a vanity move. This feels like a move where you just wanted to finally be able to say, hey, yeah, we're joining the Pac-12. We're right. And at the end of the day, what does it really get you? And so, if the move is to pick up $2 million in annual revenue per school initially, and then maybe we see that go to like 7 or 8 after, you've got 10 or 12 teams. Okay, I guess that's valuable. But if that's all this is about, then to me, it's a waste of time. Honestly, I don't understand what is the traction going to be off of this move for these schools who have already announced, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. What is the thing that they're excited about? Because it's not $2.5 million.
Yeah, and I'm also talking to somebody in television who is confirming that the CW is on board with this expansion because it is a significant part of their footprint. I think the big stories here are obviously you're adding Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State. You have a TV deal. You are going to be at 10 members. And this is going to result in you not being a power conference.
So then is the play, hey, is the pitch from Kirk Schultz and company to these schools, was the pitch,
well,
hey,
and it wouldn't be, to be accurate, Kirk Schultz, who is retiring, remember, at Washington State. So your point is, would the pitch from the Pac-2 be?
Right. Yeah. Would it be you're gaining, I guess, more access at the G5 level? I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess you're saying that you're going to make a little bit more money, and I guess from a public, publicity standpoint looks better, I guess. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to catch me tweeting the Pac-12 is back or somehow this conference is on track to be what it was before, because it's just not. And I think that's in these type of situations, like this to me now feels like in terms of the reaction, like what we're seeing folks who cover college football every day, the way they're reacting, it feels like there's one of two camps at play here. There's the camp that's just simply covering this and telling you what's happening. And, there's those folks, but then there's another sector of the media that is saying, oh, hey, the Pac-12 is back. This is incredible. Holy cow. Like, what a great day. Like, really pumping this thing. And I think we like to get ahead of stuff. We like to say that, the Pac-2 was going to get $600 million. We like to say that, San Diego State was going to get the pro rata they deserve, even though that wasn't even possible. Like today, we like to say, oh, the Pac-12 is going to poach Big 12 teams, even though that's not going to happen. Like, that's what we're seeing. Yeah, breaking news on the Monty Show presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app. Download the app, get it on your phone. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5 in a new Prize Picks account, they're going to give you 50 more. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Join the community. It's tens of millions of users deep that play the best daily fantasy game in the business. Prize Picks. Download the app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. It is the single best daily fantasy promotion I have ever seen. Real quick, I want to show you this from the Pac-12 Board of Directors, who, as Jake said, include Kirk Schultz at the moment, where you see that they said Oregon State President Murphy and Washington State President Schultz added in a joint statement, "We are honored to welcome the distinguished leadership of Boise State, Colorado State, Cal State, University Fresno, and San Diego State to the Pac-12 Board of Directors. We eagerly anticipate their uniquely insightful contributions during this transformative era for the conference and collegiate athletics." I mean, again, I think this is a very strong play for a reimagined Pac-12, but I think you're exactly right. This is not a power conference. Sources are telling us this is not a power conference. Right.
And I think, we're talking to sources as this is happening, trying to understand where UNLV is in this. And I think it's really interesting now that we are hearing about these behind the scenes plays. And I think we need to be very cautious about what is next with the Mountain West and the Pac-12, because this conversation behind how many more teams from the Mountain West are coming to the Pac-12, I think that is being negotiated as we speak. As the days go on, we will get more and more information. And I think you're going to see the Pac-12 is going to get to 10 before too long.
Right.
And the question is, who would it be? Because, again, not to be a jerk about this, these are not brands that make you significantly more money. So what are you trying to build? Are you trying to build the very best group of 5 conference?
Yeah, because that's what I think, like
maybe that's what this is.
There's been a lot of questions about, like, hey, is it going to be 6 conferences at the group of 5 level, if you will, or is the Mountain West going to dissolve? And, like 80% of the Mountain West goes to this Pac-12 situation, and then the other 2 or 3 go find a home somewhere else. So, like, what does that look like? And that's what I'm saying. If you're out here as a college football fan today trying to understand this situation, there's only one question that should matter to you, and that is, why are these schools doing this? What is the thing that they're like, hey, this is why we decided to do it? Because I can tell you right now, it's not a TV deal that brings them $2 million more annually. This is too much work, too much consternation, too much of an effort for that little of a raise, right? So it's not going to be that part of it initially. Now, is it a play to get to 10 million annually down the line? Maybe 5 years from now, this conference can improve its stature in the landscape and ask for more money. Okay, I guess maybe that could be it. So if it's not money initially, then we obviously switch to, okay, access to the college football playoff, which we really should be saying access to more money.
Yes.
Which, again, sources saying to us that this is certainly not going to be designated a power conference. So are we just simply upgrading our opportunity at the same level we were at? It's hard to believe that you're doing all this for that.
Yeah, because I think you have to remember who makes up the board of directors for the NCAA football board of directors. It's Hofstra, North Florida, Lamar, Virginia Tech, Bucknell, Loyola Chicago. I mean, this is who is the board of directors. Oh, look at that. Marlene Trump, Boise State University, is on the D1 board of directors. Hey, look at that. Texas State, Kelly Damphus is on the board of directors.
Right.
This is not Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. That's not who's on the board of directors. Now, is Linda Livingstone at Baylor on the board of directors? She is. Absolutely. Is Glenn Boyce from Mississippi? Yes. But you look at the rest of these, it's Sun Belt, Mountain West, right? You Atlantic Sun Conference, American Athletic Conference, Phil Rogers at East Carolina. That's who's going to adjudicate these matters. And if you look at the people that are going to make these decisions about what a power conference is and what is not, I think it's a very interesting look behind the curtain. I truly do.
And I think you combine that roster of folks with the college football playoff committee roster.
Well,
and that dynamic is really fascinating because on the college football playoff committee roster, you do have like the Mark Harlans of the world. You do have, players from major contributors in the college football playoff sitting on that in that group. And so it's like, you've got the playoff committee, but you also have the D1 board of directors who are going to have to come together on some level and say, hey, like, this is what we're doing out West. Like what, which again, I hadn't even thought of this until right now. If you're this Pac-12 group trying to restart this conference, have you not reached out to any of the individuals on the playoff committee and said, hey, what would we need to do for you guys to designate us?
It is President Ben Doppe from Penn State, Tim Caboni, the president at Western Kentucky, Jim Clements, the president at Clemson, Robert Dowd, who is the president at the beloved Notre Dame, Michael Fitz from Tulane, Gordon G from West Virginia, Kirk Schultz currently from Washington State, Keenum from Mississippi State, Jack Hawkins from Troy. The other two are President Stokes at New Mexico and President Tripathi from Buffalo. And I think it's very interesting. The management committee is Teresa Gould from the Pac-12 Conference, Keith Gill from the Sun Belt, Pete Bavacqua from Notre Dame. Bavacqua. You look at the commissioners that make it. This is not a free pass.
No. Nope.
And as much as you are going to have representation, it is going to be very interesting to see.
It's not a gimme, dude. It's not a, hey, like, I would be so much more supportive and positive of this if we were talking about a situation where, hey, we're putting this conference back together. We're adding current Power 4 schools to this conference to restart it. And through that process, we have a clear path to Power 4 designation or Power 5 designation at that point, because you'd be, once again, the 5th conference. But you don't have that. And so that's what I'm saying. I want to understand what the, what the justification is going to be. Who I don't know. Am I going to get?
That's a very interesting question.
Like, are we going to get the commissioner of the Pac-12 sitting on a dais saying, like, hey, this is our vision for this. This is what our goal is. This is our plan for viability long term. Because again, I don't think this is the case. I can't believe it would be the case. But if all they're doing here is saying, hey, like, let's put the conference back together. If the Mountain West doesn't want to merge initially, let's poach some teams and force a merger, and then we'll kind of go from there. That just would be really surprising to me, because what are you playing for at that point?
Yeah, I think you're playing for an automatic bid as a G5. That's what I think you're playing for, if we're being honest. All right, you guys have been amazing. We have over 3,000 comments on the show today. If you are one of the 1,000 people watching the show right now, please give us a thumbs up. Hit the like button. We've had 96 likes. Let's get to 150, 200 likes.
Yeah,
hit the like button.
Let's go.
Let's see. Lopes fan gave for $2. Fresno and Boise are not states. They're no more states than cereal is soup. Okay. Lopes fan gave the guy who said his cereal soup on this show when
we show up.
Big Blue Horses for $2. Is the timeline strategic given the ACC court issues? I don't think so, because I was just told Monday that the ACC is not close to the end of the road. So I don't think it's related, because again, I think, and I mean, as the days go on, we'll find out. I think they know that they're not going to be a power conference.
Right.
That is becoming very clear in conversations. Andy Anderson for $5. You cannot honestly say there's any school left that would create a P5 conference. They are no more than creating the best G5 conference.
Agreed.
It could very well be.
Agreed.
I already read that one. I apologize. Oak State James.
Okay, here we go. Now, are we going to get an upper deck reference
Listen,
here?
Guys, if we can put more corn dogs in the concession stand, that's going to make you a lot more money.
Yeah, UNLV is going to be a lot more comfortable joining this situation if they've got an upper deck.
If Utah State wants to be in the Pac-12, well, the problem is, and I'll read the rest of your comment in a second. Let's not forget that the Pac-12 has an NCAA essentially scandal clause in their charters and contracts. I don't believe that Utah State would be eligible currently because they may well be looking at Title IX and NCAA infractions.
That's rough.
Which, if you are in that case, I can tell you, again, Jake walked in, and what was I reading? The Big 12 Grant of Rights. You cannot be under, like, I read Utah's agreement with the Big 12 this morning, word for word. There is a clause in the Big 12 contract charter and Grant of Rights that says you cannot be under NCAA investigation when you are being offered membership to this conference.
Right.
That's standard language in just about any conference charter. Mm-hmm. So For Utah State, I don't believe they would be eligible at the moment. They have a massive scandal breaking there. They have to expand Maverick Stadium, yes, with an upper deck and visiting side. They don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah,
they do not. Big Blue Horses for $5. PAC was P5. It died. When was their P5 AQ status revoked? Was it the exact contract language? If no AQ is going, is this going to court? Toss in the ACC issues. I don't believe this is going to court because it was revoked last fall, I think. Their AQ was taken from them.
Right.
By the college football playoff and its subcommittees.
Yeah, you have, I think part of the confusion here and what you're kind of getting to is conference affiliation with the NCAA. You have a window here where you can rebuild the conference and be recognized as a conference, but that doesn't mean you're recognized as a power conference.
Yeah, I agree. Michael Pressler for $10. You have a pack holes. You pack holes, excuse me. Is that like mass holes? You pack holes need to realize you lost. You are not competitive with the Big 12. Teams aren't taking less money to play on Tubi, and Wales Vagina State is not going to beat even Baylor in the bowl season.
Hugh Janus.
Well, what I would tell you is that I don't believe there was some commenting earlier and that the Pac-12 is going to poach Big 12 members.
Right.
Who all just signed a new grant of rights and a new contract with the conference. It is incredibly arduous and expensive to get out of that grant of rights, which is why I was reading it this morning. You leave the conference in the Big 12 contract. It specifically says in the grant of rights, when you leave the conference, your rights do not leave with you. You are granting your rights to the conference for the term of this agreement.
Right.
In order to get out of that, you have to buy your way out of that.
Right.
So there it is. Are you telling me, because the first one I got was Utah, because Utah did not agree to a 99-year commitment to the Big 12 like Colorado did. But that does not mean that Utah's looking to get out of the Big 12 in any way, shape, or form. Let's not confuse that. Let's not, yeah. I just think that that's tomfoolery, if you will. I think that's kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. I think it's a non-starter. That's just my opinion. UW fan Jim. UW grads take high salary jobs all around the world. Washington State grads move back to Seattle, so it feels like a 50-50 fan base in the greater Seattle area. Let's not kid ourselves. Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Seattle, the PNW on the whole, Washington State has a very solid foothold. You're not Washington.
Right.
You're not Washington. And with Kirk Schultz, I think his mismanagement, I think his decision-making, Kirk Schultz is one of the guys that so mightily defended George Kliavkoff for how long?
Mm-hmm.
And defended Larry Scott for how long? I think that you look at the situation with the lawsuit with your former coach and, Rolacock and the COVID. There's just mismanagement all over the place there.
Yeah.
There has been stellar management at Washington. And
Which is why they're in the Big Ten.
There is a stark contrast.
Yeah.
Christopher Shannon says, hey.
Sup, dude?
Sup, dude? Good to see you, my friend. I wonder, did the Schedule Alliance shambles that the Mountain West Conference did a couple of days ago against the Pac-2 speed this up? No, I think this is why it sped it up. The Pac-2, in according to our sources, has been pushing for a merger in recent months in their negotiations, and they've never been able to agree on it.
Well, if you remember too, initially when the OG Pac-12, the conference that we once knew, when that melted down, what we were being told by the two that were left was, hey, we're going to put together a scheduling alliance and then we're going to look at the merger. Like, the scheduling alliance was never meant to be like a 5-year solution. The scheduling alliance was basically like a Band-Aid, a 1-year thing. And then the merger was supposed to be that next step. But clearly, there was a breakdown in negotiation on the merger front, which is why the scheduling alliance dissolved, and which is why the Pac-2 is poaching these teams and, to your point, is playing hardball with the Mountain West, because they're saying, okay, if you don't want to merge with us, then we're going to take teams and force your hand, which is why UNLV is in the middle of this team, or in the middle of this thing, and why there's such a question mark as to why they didn't join.
But I go back to the ACC and their situation. These negotiations are very much a place where the judge in the ACC case wants them to settle. The judge does not want to rule on that case. But there's so much heat and vitriol between the conference and specifically Florida State. It makes it very difficult. And we've been reporting on this for a year. Florida State has not been a good partner. That relationship has been broken long before anybody filed court papers.
Right.
You need to understand that this is not new in the ACC. The SMU stuff, the bombshell that was supposed to be the contract between the ACC and ESPN that's never come to fruition. Like all of this stuff, it's just positioning. That we are not close to a judge dropping the hammer on the ACC or on Florida State or Clemson. Like, we are long done from this battle. There is time until we get a full answer and an ending point in the ACC. The complexities of, look how fast it moved in the Pac-12.
Right.
Days. And then about 6 weeks and it was all done. You guys keep this money. You get that money. Get the hell out of here.
Right.
Right? When it's going to happen fast, it happens fast. It doesn't take court cases and governors and millions of dollars and people bitching and moaning. The ACC is a bunch of dudes who have a lot of money arguing with themselves about who's better and who's good at what and not good at this.
Right.
And there's always going to be mud slung about how there is nefarious details in the ESPN agreement that never come to light, because why do they say that? It's politics? Look at our election cycle.
Yes.
You lie your ass off hoping to get to an end result. So you throw the ESPN, it's this and it's, oh my God, and scandal and ethics, and you're getting that to try and push on a pressure point.
And then suddenly when nothing comes of that, it gets very quiet.
Because again, I just tell you guys, I get online and read it. It's not hard to get the ACC grant of rights. It's not hard to look at the agreements. There is no smoking gun. If there was a smoking gun in the arrangement between ESPN and the ACC, we'd have known about it already.
Yeah, the smoking gun is you sign the grant of rights not once but twice, and you're locked into that thing. That's your smoking gun.
And so you've spent more money, essentially. You've spent more money to date trying to get out of it than it would have cost you to get out of it.
Yeah.
Just in legal fees alone. And I don't think it's helped you. I don't think it's helped you at all.
Is the Pac-12 thing strategic or related to the ACC thing? No, I don't think it is. I think again, if you put the ACC thing off to the side, this is very simple, man.
Very simple.
The scheduling alliance broke down because it was only supposed to be a one-year Band-Aid. So what really caused that, once again, is the merger talks did not go the way these two clearly thought they would. Because again, I think people forget, Gloria Nevarez in the Mountain West, there was incentive to put this merger together. I mean, there's clear growth that can happen there, but obviously they weren't able to come together.
The Pac-12 wanted to run the ship.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12 wanted to dictate terms. And it's been there was a framework agreement in November that we reported on this show to move forward and merge. And
it's September now.
And it never happened because they haven't been able to come to that conclusion. And when you look at what the Mountain West lost this morning, friends, this is a devastating blow to the Mountain West. This is no small thing. When you look at this, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State.
That's a knockout punch to your conference. I mean, and again, if it turns out to be that, they don't merge and the Mountain West is tasked with retooling itself, if you will, you're not going to be even close to what you were.
And if you look at what those universities represent, I mean, San Diego State and Fresno State were your biggest West Coast brands. I mean, you still have San Jose State, but
Yeah.
you're not a brand at that point. The Bay Area is a valuable TV market only to a certain extent when it's not Cal or Stanford, right? And you look at Boise State, I mean, that's your largest regional. I think that's your largest regional brand, period.
Right.
Period. And then you lose Southern California. I mean, you need to merge. You need to take the best of your remaining parts and merge with either the Mountain West or you cut a deal with. I think what is likely to happen is some of the remaining members of this conference will go into the Pac-12. And I still, again, as a TV source was telling me this morning, the Mountain West and Conference USA will have a long conversation. And I think Gloria Navarez is well aware of that. Seismic shift this morning. Eric and Raleigh, Pac D2.
Right.
Could be right.
Right.
The Big Lubbock, good morning. Oh, look, the Dixie Dick known as RX, the Wake Forest fan, is in the chat room.
Cool.
Okay.
Got a lot of other comments to read.
Yeah, on days like this, I'm just telling you we're not going to play the game with the non-members and the guys that come in and throw out stuff that they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You want to have your comment read on a day like this when it's the most important sports day? Join the membership. It's $1.99 a month. You want to have your comment read? Join the membership. Hyperbole is a mother. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. UW fan Jim, don't call it a comeback. The Pac never left. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're no.
Cashless.
I'm telling you now. The tragedy of the Pac-12 dying is that it never had to happen. It was all self-inflicted.
Yes.
I will say the agility of the current membership is significantly better than it has ever been in the history of the PAC conference, Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12. Because you have younger, hipper, more agile leadership at the universities you just added. And Kirk Schultz is on his way out. So you look at the mobility of this group. I don't know what to make of Adela Della Torre. J.D. Wicker is an embarrassment to athletic directors at San Diego State.
Yeah.
The guy's an embarrassment.
Well, and she was right in the middle of that pro rata thing.
She made a mistake with the pro rata that San Diego State deserved comment. And I think it is going to be very interesting to see how this benefits San Diego State and where UNLV ends up. West Coast shenanigans, exactly. Keith Carl, good morning. Could the Mountain West turn around and add North Dakota State and South Dakota State? Very well, they could.
Mm-hmm.
But does that help you? Does that help you? I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that if you add North and South Dakota State, they're the best teams in your conference. And that's a step up for them. But I don't think that does not help you survive. Now, if you add them and then merge with Conference USA, okay, now we're talking about something. I just don't believe this is going to be very difficult for them to survive.
Yeah.
The non-members are eating our pets, Fat Jesus says. I believe that's true. They're stealing them right out of the front yard.
They're eating the cats.
You know. That really happened. Cash me outside. How about that? Exactly. Exactly right. Calford. She is still running her mouth. She is still running her mouth. I don't disagree with that. Kenneth Maynor for $5. Watch your dog there, Kenneth. Air Force to the American to join Army Navy should be a lock. AAC should grab App State, James Madison too, if UTSA, et cetera, leave. I think the AAC has always been in peril. It's a great conference. When Oresco was there, he was such a good commissioner. And I think you're always going to struggle. You know, I think it is. We'll see. We'll see. I think UTSA is a very interesting university. I believe that they are one of the best G5 universities out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I were the Pac-12, I would try to grab UTSA. If I were the Pac-12, it'd be South Florida. It'd be Tulane. It'd be UTSA. And I would do everything I could do to get UNLV.
Right.
But again, and I always get my ass kicked for this, I'm one of the guys that's a huge believer in UNLV. But I believe in it as an athletic department in a G5 level. They don't have $200 million. And everybody always says, well, Monty, what about all those slot machines on the strip? Bro?
No Monties.
No Monties, kid. If they were going to get casino money, they would have it already.
Right.
And you're winning at football now. You're okay at basketball. But you're not Jerry Tarkanian running Rebels anymore. And I agree that they make good bread on things like the NBA Summer League, which is played on campus, which is great. But I think you have to look at somebody like UTSA. UTSA is acutely aware of who they are and where they are. San Antonio is a great town. It's got great people. It's a great metropolitan area. And UTSA is a really strong athletic department.
Yeah.
And I think apparently Gloria Navarro is, well, we'll see. I'm going to wait to confirm that. But their negotiations are going on behind the scenes. There's just no doubt about that. That would be a lot of money for USF to join the PAC. The travel cost would be rough with smaller amount of money than the PAC would be getting. I think that's a huge problem. But remember, they're going to, in 26, 27 is very interesting because they're breaking ground next month on that stadium. When do you think that's going to be done?
Oh, I mean, just a wild guess here for the 26-27 season.
I think you're looking at a situation where USF is an incredibly valuable university in athletics. Again, are you talking about them as a G5 or a P5? Because if they'd have had an on-campus stadium, they'd be a G5. They'd be in the Big 12.
Right.
I think they'd be in and UCF would be out. Now, UCF has been great, and I think is absolutely going in the right direction.
Yeah, held up there under the bargain for sure.
And the bounce house is awesome. But USF deserves to be in a P5. And my question is, if you are or a power conference, if you are USF, aren't you doing everything you can do to be the next Boise State?
Be in the Boise State of the East Coast.
Because that's not a bad place to be. And Tampa's a great market. Again, they have relationships throughout South Florida. That's an incredibly valuable brand, in my opinion. Are they a $200 million a year football brand? I don't think so. And I think they're a G until they prove otherwise. And once you build a new stadium and you have Snapdragon as your naming partner, it would seem that helps you play at that level.
Right.
But is San Diego State going to a power league that they're going to wind up spending $150, $200 million a year in football? They're not. So this is a very good question, Mike. I think I think that's a big question. How genius does the U of U leadership look? I was really critical when the PAC imploded, but man, they look like savants. And I can only continue to tell you, Taylor Randall is a phenomenal leader. Mark Harlan, the athletic director at Utah, is a phenomenal leader. And I look at Utah. Utah is currently the best team in the Big 12. I don't think anybody even argues that. That's the best athletic department in this conference, in my opinion. They're really well administrated. Their women's sports are really good. I mean, you look at what they've done. Their golf team just, I think, set the all-time record. 61. They shot a 61, dude.
Yeah.
Like their athletic department's phenomenal at the U. And the decision-making, the timeline, the way they handled it, they didn't do the 99-year I'm leaving right now thing that Colorado did. I don't know even how they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Oak State James, think about this. If UTSA goes to the Pac-12, then I will have 4 different conferences that are good within driving distance of where I live. Awesome. Fantastic. Keith Carl. One thing for sure, This year of Pac-12 is trying and doing way more than Kliavkoff would ever have done.
And I think they deserve credit for that. At least they're trying. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
UW fan Jim, I think Tulane might be as far east as they go. The travel cost at that level is you need to be a regional brand.
Yeah.
But again, if you're Gloria Navarez, I think you have to reach as wide and as far as you can. And I think when you look at the brands in the Mountain West today, and you take out Boise, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Air Force, the Air Force Academy is in the Springs, right? Colorado Springs. Wyoming is in Laramie, Wyoming. New Mexico, Nevada, which is in Reno. Utah State in northern Utah. Hawaii, which is in Dallas.
That was a joke. And see, that was a Dallas, Hawaii.
UNLV in Vegas and San Jose State in Fresno, San Jose.
Yeah,
you need some reach. So, I mean, and the AAC is a great conference. And if we look at the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, that's a pretty heavy basketball football mix. I mean, South Florida, Tulane, Tulsa, UAB, UTSA, Charlotte, like that gives you.
Yeah, they got some brands in there that do some stuff in basketball.
But it's all East Coast. So now I start looking at CUSA, Conference USA, Liberty, which is in Virginia, Louisiana, Florida International, Middle Tennessee, which is in the middle of Tennessee. You're welcome. Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, UTEP, and New Mexico. I mean, UTEP gives you Texas. I don't know if you know that. El Paso is in Texas. But those are the only options.
Yeah.
I don't see that you have.
There's not a stockpile of options here, man. It's that's what I'm saying. Like,
the AAC is great, but it's a very heavily Central Eastern time zone conference.
And how does this picture change after who the Pac-12 is going to add? I mean, what teams are no longer available?
That's why I said I wouldn't just if they can't get a lock, stock, and barrel merger, which it appears they weren't able to get, they're going to take the best of what's left, and the Mountain West is going to have to react or merge or be sucked up into another conference.
Yeah.
I mean, I think these are all very
consolidation, baby.
Justin Bemis, guys. The Alaska Seawolves of the Pac-2 could be. James, USF will leave the AC or will join the ACC when Florida State leaves. I don't think so. I think that Florida State's got to leave first. We got to stop with this belief that Florida State's going to leave.
Yeah, still waiting for a viable path for Florida State to leave that conference.
Because, again, there's no way for them to leave.
Yeah, still waiting for the plan or the grandiose scheme to get out of that conference.
Yeah, I think it's
I mean, I don't know if there's anything more tried and true in the sporting world, like all of sports, than the ACC grant of rights and its ability to hold a team in there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's going to be interesting to see, because again, you look at the money it takes to be a power conference, dude.
Yeah, it
is so look at this Gundy clip. I want to play this Mike Gundy clip.
Mike.
Because apply this with the news this morning. This Mike Gundy clip is very interesting. Boise, San Diego State, Fresno State, Colorado State. Apply this to UTSA or Tulane or USF. Couldn't Mike Gundy, while saying this, be the head coach at any G5 university?
What was it about him, and just what did you like about what you saw from McGann and stuff?
Do you want me to go back into coach talk, or do you want me to tell you the truth?
The truth.
The truth?
Yes.
He was very inexpensive. The number of players that we go after that were ready to play at this level, we can't afford. So he was a good buy and a really quality young man that had success and has physical characteristics that we can work with Rob Glass and develop him. And so that's why he ended up here, in my opinion.
Now, are you at Oak State or are you at South Florida? Because that's a guy right there in Mike Gundy, the head coach at Oklahoma State, that should seemingly have endless resources. I mean, the name of his stadium is Boone Pickens Stadium. It's one of the largest boosters in the history of college athletics. And he's talking about how he can't afford the best players.
And I think that this clip from a couple weeks ago where he's talking about, hey, negotiating's over. We're done paying. We're done paying, talking about NIL. Stop having your agents call us.
That's what I told the players. There's no negotiating now. Portal's over. Right. All negotiations history. Now we're playing football. You can enjoy.
There's clearly a hey, this is how much we can spend, and you can't go over this line.
And yet he's getting beat in money by SMU.
Yeah.
So put it in that light, a power brand supposedly at Oak State. Now you tell me that, does Oak State have $100 million a year just for football? I don't know. It doesn't seem so. So if you're Oak State, are you mismanaging, or is that just the reality of your finances? Okay, well, apply that to USF. Does USF have $150 million? Because in my opinion, and we've talked openly about this on the show for months and months.
Right.
If we ever get to a place where the norm is Super League and everybody else, isn't Oak State in the everybody else's based on how Mike Gundy's talking about his finances?
Yeah, well, and that's the two sides of the conversation. From a football perspective, they obviously would be in the Super League, but from a willingness to spend money perspective,
Oklahoma State belongs at the top of any college football.
Yeah. Now, I have my druthers about Gundy and his, not winning in the playoffs so far issues, but they would be in the Super League. But at what level are you in the Super League? Yeah, just because
you're capable. You're capable.
Yeah.
Are you willing?
Yeah,
you're capable of being in the Super League if you are a Oklahoma State. Are you willing to spend? I think it'll be $200 million a year just on football.
USF is capable of being in the Pac-12. Are they willing?
I don't know. Is UNLV willing to pay? What does football cost on the regular?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. It's hard to answer that question because it's so case by case. But yeah, I think a minimum, a low
What's
bar.
What's a power conference spend on football?
A low bar would be 125, 130. That's a low bar.
That's that's just to exist in a Super League.
And again, I'm going to keep saying this because I think people are forgetting about it. You haven't even brought up revenue sharing yet. You haven't even brought up the
NIL settlement.
NIL settlement. You haven't brought up the changes to financial structure that we're going to see. So I'm just telling you guys, man, it's all cool, fine and dandy. Hey, Pac-12's back. Everything's amazing. Oh my God, let's celebrate, like there's no tomorrow. But,
yeah, I was reading this article about Clemson saw its athletic department revenue jump from $83.5 million to $158.2 million the first year of the college football playoff in 2015 to 2022. Right? So you're seeing like a big jump. And a lot of it is donations, but the school saw a spending increase overall for the program at Clemson from $29 million a year. All their spending in 2015 is $29 million. In 2022, they spent $56 million on football.
So half
at Clemson.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, Clemson's success, because again, I agree, Dabo's been a train wreck for the last 4 seasons. But before that, remember, they had 5-head. They won natties. So when you win at that level in football, you're obviously going to get paid big shares. So Clemson is benefiting from what they were able to do in those couple of years. So again, I'm just saying, if the spending went from 50 something to 80 something, and we haven't once again even talked about the NIL settlement or the fact that you're going to have to start rev sharing with players, like you're talking about losing what 20% of your revenue to players. I mean, that's
I think that your rev share will be $22 million.
Yeah.
Put 10 more on top of that for the NIL settlement once we get there. That's $32 million right there. How many schools can afford to spend $32 million on football?
Look at Clemson's case.
An additional $32 million, not total, an additional $32 million on
So we
football.
just went from you spent 50 something in 2015 on your football program to you bumped that up to 80 something. And now we're bumping that up to 110 ish.
We're talking about athletic departments spending $280 million.
Like USF doesn't have $280 million. Tulane doesn't have $280 million.
Ohio State is spending this year. It is believed that they will spend $300 million on athletics.
Now that's not just football. That's athletics.
But let that sink in.
That's a ton of cash.
Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And I think it is wild to me that we're looking at numbers, and I would remind you, they also have one of the best stadiums in college football at the Shoe.
Right.
But we've talked about these numbers in the past. The school revealed the department brought in $279.5 million, an increase of $28 million year over year. $74 million of that is ticket sales.
So when you talk about firing Ryan Day, you might want to check yourself, because this is somebody who sells out the Shoe 6 times a year and then goes to the college football playoff with regularity. Now, I'm not saying he wins national championships with regularity, but they're in the college football playoff pretty much every year. So when you talk about, hey, like ticket sales, he's got that. He's got the shares from the college football playoff. He's got booster support in the NIL space, and he's damn good in the portal.
And then you have to start talking about how much the hot dogs cost.
Yeah.
And how much does the insurance policy, how much do coaches' salaries?
So when we're talking about San Diego State joining the Pac-12 for what, in my opinion, is more of a vanity play than anything currently, yeah, good luck paying for all this stuff, man. That's what concerns me.
I just think it is amazing to me that when we're having these conversations about the Pac-12 and we're looking at how much money the top teams make and spend.
Yeah.
Well, how many G5 schools can even say that they make $74 million a year, let alone just on ticket sales?
Right.
Not many, if any, at all. So I think I would slow your roll on, hey, we're making all this money and they're going to be a power conference. And why do you think Florida State's still in the ACC? Because it's really hard to make. And we're talking about $500 million to get out. So it's amazing to me when we get into these conversations about who's making what and spending what. And it's crazy. Oak State has one Boone Pickens. Texas has several of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
But Texas shouldn't be discounted for that. Texas shouldn't be. And this is what we got to stop doing. Oh, well, hey, Texas has.
They just buy more players.
They just buy more players.
You're right. They do.
They do.
They do.
And they should be credited for that. And it should be, hey, yeah, Texas is the gold standard for how to take a dumpster fire of a program that is a nameplate but not doing well, to taking it to nameplate, doing well, competing for national championships, and recruiting your ass off and being like 27 deep at quarterback. I mean, that's what. So we just need to stop saying like, hey, well, we shouldn't have to pay. Like, I love this.
Like it's a bad thing.
Like it's a bad thing, man. Like I don't know. I think we like to do that to the top teams, and I'm just unwilling to do that. I'm not even a Texas fan or the fan, but they deserve a lot of credit for what they've been able to
100%.
build over the years.
100%. And I think just let it sink in when you see this comment that Texas has multiple. The top teams, I just told you, do you guys, do you understand what these top teams spend on NIL on its own? $20 million a year. That's right now. That number's only going up. Right? And you look at all these lawsuits, like at the Michigan, Denard Robinson, and a couple of other Michigan alumni suing yesterday. That number's only going up. And the House settlement not going through, the number's only going up. So I just want you to have some perspective on that. I think it's really important. All right, couple more comments after I tell you about Canyons Golf, the official golf club of the Monty Show. Dude, I am so stoked to get to Rice-Eccles Stadium Saturday night.
Starting to put out pictures, man. Looking cool.
They're building the golf course at Rice-Eccles Stadium, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. You know, it is going to be very interesting.
Think Top Golf like hitting bay. You know, if you've ever been to Top Golf, you know, you got the mat and then, you know, you've got the little thing that provides you the golf ball, you know. Think that type of setup, but then you're hitting the ball onto a green, onto a spot on the actual football field with your, you know, 50 degree, your pitching wedge, whatever. Like, that's cool, man.
It is cool. And I think it's going to be very interesting. But Saturday morning, I'll be at Canyons Golf in Park City. Park City Mountain Resort, Canyons Village. That's where you find Canyons Golf in Park City. It's amazing. And I tell you all the time, we're a month away now, 30 days on the calendar away from Canyons Golf wrapping it up for the season, because they're at elevation. So 6-8 weeks from now, they're going to be covered in snow. That's the beauty of Canyons Golf. Elk, moose, deer, bears, wolves, foxes. Probably not wolves. Foxes is what I meant to say. You see them all on the course at Canyons Golf. Beautiful wildlife. Raised tee boxes with these beautiful vistas. And this time of year, the weather up at Canyons is remarkable. Like, if I look at what the forecast on Saturday in Park City is for a high of 76. It's just perfect weather to play golf.
You know, I woke up today and you know how your phone like automatically updates overnight sometimes. My phone updated last night, and what do I get? I get my weather bug on my lock screen saying, yep, low's 53 today. High's going to go ahead and be 76. Man, I'm here for it, dude. I'm absolutely positively here for it.
Yeah, I bought the new iPhone, by the way.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm all in on AI. Anyway, the point is, Canyons Golf, Park City, go play a round of golf. It's municipal pricing. It's well priced. And then go have a world-class meal. I tell you, there's a Mexican joint in the bottom of the Pendry building in the middle of the village at Canyons Village that is the best Mexican food. It's so good. It's such a good experience. GPS on the carts.
Yes.
Coolers with ice on the cart. Like, it's just a great experience at Canyons Golf. You know, lesson, Darren Ingram, the teaching pro, the director of golf up there. He's my swing coach. Go hook it up. Canyons Golf, the official golf resort of the Monty Show. Yes, I bought the new iPhone.
Okay.
iPhone 16. It'll be here on the 13th. And it's loaded with AI. I'm a huge camera guy. I do a ton of content, especially in golf. I think you guys know that. I'm about to start making a ton of content in my backyard because I have a whole golf practice facility now in my backyard. Like, the iPhone 16, I'm excited about it. My wife is in an iPhone 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Her trade-in is $400. My trade-in on the new iPhone is $600 because I'm in an iPhone 15 Pro Max.
1 terabyte of storage.
Yeah.
Gold.
I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. 0% over 12 months with Apple.
Yeah. Pretty good.
I'm here for it. Smash the number. Ferris Khan says, Ferris Khan's back.
Oh, so you had to who are you? The Pac-12?
I think Ferris has taken a break because of the ass whooping that Michigan. Like, notice that, and you're a member, which is interesting. So you probably picked up a free membership, but anyway. Hook 'em.
Hey, how's your boy doing as a head coach in high school football?
You know, that weren't you the one that was like, oh, lone wolf?
He's a lone wolf, Monty.
Sure he is. Does Boise State have a shot this year of getting into the college football playoffs? They do. You got to win the G5.
Bro, don't go down a couple comments right here. Just because you're a member doesn't mean you get a free pass on all the garbo that you spewed in the comments.
Who are you?
Section.
Who are you, Wasikowski?
Yeah, come on.
Are you out of your mind?
Bro.
Are you out of your mind?
Come on.
I hate you because you live in San Diego, which is my celestial, soulful home. Anyway, they're actually arranging a 9-hole course. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So the way that golf at Rice-Eccles Stadium, where the Utah Jets play football at Rice-Eccles Stadium, I'll be there Saturday evening golfing.
Golf.
On the field, they have a setup of 9 holes, and you go around the stadium, and they have tee boxes set up. And you are not allowed to bring your own clubs. I shouldn't say that. You're allowed to bring your own short irons and wedges. You are not allowed to bring woods, hybrids, or drivers.
Yeah, no 350-yard drives off the Jumbotron.
They won't even let you bring them into the building. They won't even let you. So, you know. War Room. Good to see you, dude. How about them USC?
Hey, man.
Well, Jake said that Lincoln Riley is a terrible football coach who sucks at winning. I think if you guys are not absolutely, I mean, it's at least in the esophagus with Miller Moss, right? I'm not sure you need to get to the base of your neck, but if you're not at least in the esophagus with Miller Moss.
You're a homer is the first part.
I mean, that cat has absolutely saved your season. Without a doubt. Saved your season.
Right.
You know. Is USC back? Well, if Texas isn't back, how is USC back?
Right.
I was just going through my day yesterday, and one of my a-hole college football friends texted me, Texas is back. Come on. Mike Smith, good use of the new Gundy drop.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that credit there. You like that?
You're a homer is the first part.
Yeah, you are a homer. You know, it is. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Look at that. War Room's like, oh, yeah. Base of the neck, the stomach with Miller Moss. You know, I think USC is good. I don't think USC is great.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's it. Show's over. Always good to see you. Jake is off until Tuesday. I will be back tomorrow flying solo. Mrs. Monty will join us in the second hour. I'll have a lot of details on this because I'm telling you, just sitting here talking to different sources now. The storyline for you to watch is what negotiations are going on behind the scenes involving the Mountain West. What is the Mountain West doing behind the scenes? Because they are very active. Keep your eye on that. The Monty Show, as always, is not brought to you by the War Room. Brought to you by the Advocates at theadvocates.com, where you never pay a penny out of pocket to work with the best injury attorneys in the business. Hook it up. Theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.